Namaste. Sleeping is universal and occupies 1/3 of a human's lifetime. It is important to sleep so that we do not impair our next dysfunctioning. Unlike Kunkan, who slept for 6 months. But have you noticed or heard of people complaining about their inability to sleep and which is later mostly ignored? But this might be a symptom or onset of other chronic biological or psychological disorder and which should not be ignored. So if you guessed it right, we will discuss today sleep-wake disorder. Of course, it's an enigmatic disorder of the DSM-5 series. And as always, to discuss this, we have with us psychoanalysis consultant, Mr. Himanshu Bhai. Namaste, sir.
Namaste.
So, sir, can we start by understanding what is sleep-wake disorder?
Sleep-wake disorders are those disorders which pertain to quantity of sleep, rhythm of sleeping and waking compared to the sun's circadian rhythm, pertaining to actions done during sleep and respiratory processes during sleep. This is broadly the 4 categories in which all the sleep-wake disorders are given in DSM-5. If we look at it from one point of view, in psychotherapy and psychiatry, we talk of 2 triangles. The first triangle of thought, mood, and conduct, where if you have a psychological problem, either thought or mood or conduct, something is going to be impaired. And as a consequence, you have a second triangle, food, sex, and sleep. So, if you have a psychological issue, chances that something of the second triangle, food, sex, or sleep, will be disturbed is something which is very common. Not always, but mostly. Any psychological problem, if it exists for a long time, food, sex, or sleep is disturbed. Now, this brings us to sleep getting disturbed because of a psychological problem. If you are depressed, sleep is disturbed. If you have anxiety problem, sleep is disturbed. In this chapter, we are not talking about those disturbances. So here we are talking about independent, stand-alone sleep-wake disturbances, sleep-wake disorders, which are not because of, as a consequence of some other disorder like anxiety or depression. So if you have a person who does not have anxiety or depression and still has a distinct stand-alone sleep-wake problem, those are the type of problems we are dealing with in this chapter.
Okay. So, sir, what are the disorders exactly covered under this chapter in the DSM-5 series?
There is a long list of disorders in this chapter, and we can classify all those disorders into 5 broad categories. The first category is the quantity of sleep category, in which either the person sleeps too much or he sleeps too little. If the sleep is too little, we call it insomnia. Insomnia. If the sleep is too much, we call it hypersomnolence. So the first category is quantity based, quantity of sleep based. Second category relates to the rhythm of going to sleep and waking up. Is it in tune with the circadian rhythm or not? If it is not in tune, it's a circadian rhythm sleep disorder. The third category relates to respiration during sleep. Many people have a problem of not having smooth respiration during sleep. This respiratory difficulty during sleep, referred to as apnea, gives rise to three different issues. One, obstructive apnea, where you have a respiratory difficulty which may be manifesting in snoring or making breathing noise or sounds or whatever, or finding it difficult to breathe, the heartbeat going high or low, those kind of issues. That is one category of difficulty, which is one problem, one specific difficulty in that category of respiratory problem during sleep, which is the obstructive apnea. Second is what is called the central sleep apnea, that you have the respiratory difficulty in the center of the sleep cycle. And third is hypoventilation, that you are not able to exhale clearly and therefore carbon dioxide builds up in the body. So these three pertain to the third category, respiratory problems during sleep. Fourth category is activities during sleep, and these are divided into activities that you do which you are not supposed to do while you are asleep in the REM phase of the sleep, and activities which you do which you are not supposed to do in the non-REM part of the sleep. So they call it as the sleep disorders related to the REM part, sleep disorders related to the non-REM part. And this includes issues like talking in the sleep, walking in the sleep, and so on. And then you have, lastly, the nightmare disorders, that you see nightmares and you wake up most of the time with fear, perspiration, palpitation, and so on. So these are the five broad categories in which the disorders are described in DSM-5 relating to the sleep-wake area.
REM is rapid eye movement, right?
Yeah, rapid eye movement, yeah.
So, sir, what is the psychoanalysis explanation for the causation of this disorder?
It is very complex because each of the disorders that we mentioned requires a different sort of psychoanalytic explanation. Let us go one by one. Insomnia, inability to sleep, right? Might be because of too much of repressed anger, too much of repressed pain, too much of hopelessness, withdrawal from the world, non-readiness to engage with the world after failure and resignation. It may also deal with fear of going to sleep because something very difficult is inside the unconscious mind you will encounter. So those are the causation factors for not going to sleep. Sleeping too much may involve issues like avoidance of the world, not wanting to get up, fear of the world, regressing back to the child state of dependency, living in the dream world, not being able to accept the defeat in the real world, and so on. That may be the case for hypersomnolence. Circadian rhythm problem may have to do with lifestyle more than a psychoanalytic issue. So it may come from a wrong lifestyle, wrong habit, wrong occupation, something of that sort. Right? Psychoanalytically, it may come from defiance. Okay? And it may come from a histrionic behavior to stand out. So you may do what nobody else does, either out of narcissism, out of defiance, or out of histrionicity. With regard to the respiratory troubles during sleep, it may be that you are touching those parts of yourself which are releasing extreme anger, fear, pain, guilt, shame during sleep, and they are getting somatized. So we may be looking at something inside the personality in the unconscious mind, which the unconscious mind is incapable of turning into dreams. It's almost like some sort of beta elements of beyond which are getting somatized. So that is the psychoanalytic explanation, that there may be some Oedipal memories, some memories of the early open split of the paranoid schizoid, some memories of disintegration of the ego, some memories of object loss, some memories of pre-linguistic pure affect turning on oneself, especially the negative affect, some memories of disintegration or fusion or merging back, and these very difficult things are deeply buried into the psyche. The unconscious mind is not able to convert this in terms of dreams or process in any way, nor repress, and therefore somatization happens in the dreams. The nightmare part of the disorder is explained in the sense of uh, inability of the mind to use that material for dream work. So inadequate defense work happens. For some reason, defenses are not able to work, and the full effect of that thing comes up, resulting in nightmare. So the person wakes up usually with fear, palpitation, perspiration, and so on. So different disorders given in this chapter have different psychoanalytic explanations, and one has to find out which applies. And that's a complex area, because we are looking here at things which the person finds it difficult to free associate, have day fantasies, or even dream about. Something very severely repressed, or something so heavy the mind finds it difficult to process.
Yes, sir, it's indeed a very complex thing. But then, how does psychoanalysis help in healing of this disorder?
I think this is one of the areas where uh, the articulation of the onset is very, very important. Something deeply buried, deeply repressed, still not at peace in the depths of the unconscious mind. It is the articulation of it and bringing it into awareness, consciousness, and thinking about it, which will relieve us from its terrifying effects. So, making the unconscious conscious by articulation, and then looking at the feelings, what is associated, and then going for catharsis is the key here, because we are looking at extremely repressed, extremely difficult material, almost enigmatic material, and some of that might be even pre-linguistic, so much that, especially when you talk about those disorders where activities are happening, in those disorders, it may be an acting out to communicate what otherwise cannot be communicated in any other way. So psychoanalysis would go by the classical psychoanalytic method, right? And one can take any school one wants, Cohusian, Freudian, Kleinian, as one wants. This is not a sickness, or this category of sicknesses is not something severe, as difficult as uh, depression or disassociation or psychosis, and therefore one can take any school that one wants, one is comfortable with, and look at moderate cases once a week for 6 months to 1 year, and difficult cases twice a week, 2 years. Any school you can follow, but two important additions here. One, when it comes to the circadian rhythm, habit is and scheduling is very important. So behavioral therapy has to complement the psychoanalytic work in the circadian rhythm problem, number one. Number two, when we are talking about nightmares, then the Jungian method of amplification, active imagination is very, very useful. And three, when we are talking about somebody talking at night in the sleep, obviously it means the person does not have adequate human contact or human communication. And one of the simplest way to heal is to get him talk to some people, because he is talking at night what he cannot talk during the day. So there, the behavioral therapy of simply talking to three people itself will give him a lot of relief. With regard to the respiratory issues, it is really deep, because we are looking at somatization phenomena of deeply repressed affects. And there we would need long-term psychotherapy and also possibly ISTDP. So this is how analytic psychotherapy would move about, that you follow any school, put the intensity and dosage based upon the intensity of the problem, and based upon what is the exact problem, you add, where necessary, Jungian elements, behavioral elements, habit elements, scheduling elements, and even the narrative elements of the narrative therapy type, where you articulate from different narratives something related to or around the unconscious theme you are working on.
I'm sure holistic healing has a role to play here also. But what are the schools? I mean, what are the holistic healing schools which will benefit here?
With regard to sleep wake disorders, homeopathy is a very powerful tool. Second is Reiki and pranic healing are also very good tools, because particularly for insomnia, right, or hypersomnolence, Reiki and pranic healing can relax you and you can go into sleep. Because to go into sleep naturally, we have to relax ourselves, and the relaxation has to slowly make us slide into sleep. And we find it difficult to sleep if we cannot relax. If we are preoccupied, something is going on in the back of our mind. So to relax ourselves, Reiki and pranic healing are very important. To remove the blocked effects, Reiki, pranic healing, pranayam, certain yogic techniques, certain tantric techniques also are very important, because they are all centered on how do you remove the blockages of emotions and energy. The art therapy is also very important when we talk of nightmare part of this chapter, because we are dealing there with affect which cannot be processed. So to soften that affect and make it more conscious, art therapy, psychodrama can be of great use. It's also important to have a good schedule, so that the person puts in a minimum amount of physical work, meets a minimum amount of number of people, and does a at least the minimum necessary communication with them. These elements of everyday schedule, of meeting some people, talking to them, doing some physical work, all of them add up to resolving the sleep wake-up problems.
And sir, when you talk about patient education here, how important is that?
Uh, Patient education is very important because one, he should know what is happening to him so he does not panic as to what is happening to him. He should not fear that he will do something terrible in his sleep. He should not be too embarrassed about it, should be able to accept it. Secondly, it is very necessary to bring to his notice the significance of the schedule and the necessity of minimum amount of physical work, minimum human contact, and minimum human communication. Third, we have to train the person himself so he is not dependent on others for Reiki and pranic healing. And he can give it to himself every night. And while it is being given, if he goes to sleep, the sleep quality and quantity is seen to improve generally. If he is walking or if he is talking, it is very necessary to note down the contents so that it can be put up for analysis. In case of both these things, the family members have to cooperate. And it is also important that uh, when alone, he can practice some sort of artistic articulation or free association articulation so that it helps us to know what is in the unconscious that is troubling him so much. Lastly, his own ability at putting a will onto himself that he will not walk at night, he will not talk at night, that willing, that self-assertion has also shown good results in some people. So all of this you can facilitate, accelerate and deepen if you do psychoeducation which tells him what is wrong with him, how it can get right, what to focus on, what not to focus on, the do's and don'ts, what to report to the doctor when something is working right or not working right, and also train him or lead him so that he gets trained with somebody in certain areas, holistic healing areas, so he can heal himself and not be dependent on others.
And sir, how about the family members and the caregivers? Because it would be traumatic for them also to see someone get up in the night.
Very right. Because the most important part is that this is so enigmatic that the family members should not panic and start attacking the person. So they have to be taught first that this is this is not a tantrum. This is not a defiance. This is not a attention attracting tool that the person is using. There is something really deep at work. It is not something which he can just wish away or will. It should not happen and it will not happen. So we have to make them understand the gravity of the situation. Second, we also have to make them understand why it is happening, how it can be improved, so they don't get terrified. And in turn, they don't terrify the patient. Third, they should note down, in case of sleepwalking and sleep talking, the content of it, because the patient himself cannot note down. So we need them to provide us that data, because that is a communication from unconscious which is not possible for the patient in that given situation to communicate in any other way. It is overflowing of the unconscious. It is very precious for the therapist to know what it is. Fourth, they should know do's and don'ts from their side, what aggravates, what heals, so that they add to the healing and not to the aggravation. Fifth, they can help the patient find good holistic healers, find good social support groups, and lastly, they uh, are able to understand and manage their own problems if they have to take care of the person in the long run, which may involve even doing the architecture of the home in a particular way if the person is walking. So in the long run, to take care till it gets healed, they should not develop secondary problems of mild depression or mild anxiety. And to do all of that, we need to have proper uh, caregiver education.
And of course, patient discipline is something which is very important and which would help a long way, right? Sleeping at the right time, waking up at the right
Yes,
time,
it
and
is.
having a
It is.
particular routine. Well, thank you, sir, for sharing your knowledge and insight with us. And friends, we have discussed sleep-wake disorder in DSM-5. And in our subsequent videos, we will cover other disorders from the DSM-5 series in the same way. Do watch and write to us at hveindia@gmail.com. Namaste.